The war in Ukraine that began 1 year ago today has left many families scrambling for safety. Children in Ukraine were pulled from schools as homes and entire neighborhoods were demolished. Families fled to the less affected cities and beyond. We recently discussed all of this with an American living in Ukraine. Erik Heinonen works for Catholic Relief Services, and he shares his story tonight. You live in Irpin in Ukraine, which is right outside of Kyiv. And we also know that your wife is Ukrainian. And about a little over a year ago, you guys were in a really tough spot. Can you walk us through those early days of the war and that choice that you made to leave?
Sure. Yeah, for us, I mean, honestly, the process started a couple months before that. There was signs of a buildup around the border, the Russian-Ukrainian borders already in late November into December. And we were, watching the media, reading the messages that were coming from the U.S. Embassy a bit later on, trying to triangulate and understand what was actually happening. And it was the second buildup. There'd been a buildup in the spring of 2021 as well. So watching that, and as the messaging started to shift a little bit from the embassy, and there's more and more signs in social media of the buildup, we decided, let's be prudent here, and eventually got to the point of, I think it was about February 14th, we made the decision to relocate temporarily to Western Ukraine. So packed up the car, 2 kids, my mother-in-law, the 2 dogs in the back, put a bag apiece essentially in the roof box and headed west. Started what ended up being quite a long trip just to make it across the border into Romania. Distance wasn't very far. It was only about 60 miles to get to the border from where we were located at the time. But there were a lot of people with the same desire to get to the border and get across. And so the driving to the border, we got within six miles of the crossing point. But at that point, that was the back of the line of cars. And it took us about 3 days to get across.
And then at some point, you all decided to return to Ukraine. Tell us about that decision. And when you came back home, what did you find?
Sure, yeah. So it was, something we talked about from the first days of getting to Romania. Of course, everybody wants to go home. No one wants to be a refugee by choice. We, again, thought about it all the time, every day, thought about going home. Lots of hard emotional discussions. Is it the right decision? Is it not? And eventually we got to the point in December of feeling like, yeah, we can go back, we can do this, and it's the right decision for the family. So came back in January and have been trying to piece together life here and adapt to the new normal that everyone's living through in Ukraine.
Yeah, and you seem so calm, and you're living in a war-torn country. What is the new normal? I mean, what is it like for you and your family, especially the children? What's day-to-day like? Can you quickly summarize that for us?
We live normal life for the most part, but there's a lot of reminders of what happened here. And then, there's the uncertainty every day of what disruptions will there be, whether it's electricity cuts or, unfortunately, whether there's an air raid siren, which, means that there's either drones coming, missiles or rockets incoming, or possibly just Russian airplanes flying near the border, but still a risk. So daily disruptions are frequent.
It's hard for us to imagine here in the United States. We're not going through what it's like. I mean, there must be so much that goes through your mind, and at points probably fearful. And we're all praying for you guys over there and praying for an end to this war. What do you think the future looks like for the Ukrainian people, both as the war continues and beyond that? And what would be your message to our viewers right now? Is there anything you want to let them know about what's happening there?
We all understand that we've gone through a lot, and we're all carrying a lot of stress over months and months and months and months. People have dealt with a lot of fear, anxiety. People have dealt with very severe trauma. People who had to evacuate during active fighting. People who've got loved ones on the front lines. People who've lost loved ones during fighting. I mean, people have gone through a lot here in the last year, and unfortunately, there's probably still more to go through in the months that come. We all understand that. So there's a long process ahead to help rebuild the country, and then just to help people deal with everything that they've gone through.
Well, Erik, thank you so much for speaking with us. We're really grateful. We're praying for you and your family and everyone in Ukraine. God bless you.
Thanks. Take care.